The palace of gold never slept. Even at midnight, when the city lights of Dubai faded beneath the desert haze, the royal walls still whispered secrets no one dared to repeat aloud. Every hallway carried echoes of expensive silence. Every chandelier hid another untold story. And somewhere between those royal lies and dangerous truths, lived Fazza. She was not born into power. She was born into silence. A silence so deep that even her own heart learned how to survive without asking questions. People inside the palace knew her as the quiet girl with mysterious eyes. Servants lowered their voices whenever she walked past. Guards avoided looking directly at her. The royal family pretended she was invisible. But invisibility can become dangerous. Especially when the invisible person knows the truth. Fazza spent most of her nights standing near the palace balcony, staring at the endless desert beneath the moonlight. The wind always carried strange feelings to her chest: fear, loneliness, and something darker she could never explain. She had learned one important thing while growing up inside royal walls: the richer the kingdom looked, the more broken its soul became. One evening, during a royal gathering filled with diamonds, cameras, and fake smiles, Fazza noticed something unusual. A man wearing black gloves slipped a folded paper beneath one of the crystal vases before disappearing into the crowd. Nobody saw him. Except her. Curiosity became stronger than fear. Slowly, while musicians played soft melodies around the ballroom, Fazza moved toward the vase and unfolded the paper with trembling fingers. 3 words were written in dark ink: "They know everything." Her heartbeat stopped. Below those words was a symbol she had seen once before, years ago, on the night her mother disappeared without explanation. That same symbol. That same warning. And suddenly the past returned like a storm. Fazza remembered being only 8 years old, hiding behind a staircase while her mother argued with one of the royal advisors. "You cannot bury the truth forever," her mother whispered angrily. The advisor smiled coldly. "In royal families," he replied, "truth is buried before people are." The next morning, her mother vanished. No funeral. No explanation. Only silence. For years, Fazza convinced herself it was all a nightmare. But now, the nightmare was waking up again. That night she couldn't sleep. The paper remained hidden beneath her pillow while questions destroyed her peace. Who left the message? What truth were they talking about? And why did it connect to her mother? Outside, thunder rolled across the desert sky. A rare storm was coming. And storms always changed everything. The next day, the palace announced a grand royal engagement ceremony. Politicians, businessmen, and famous families arrived from every corner of the world. Cameras flashed endlessly. Smiles looked perfect. But Fazza noticed the fear hidden behind those smiles, especially in the eyes of Sheikh Rahim, the most powerful man inside the palace. He kept watching her. Not normally. Carefully. as if he knew she had already stepped too close to forbidden truths. During dinner, Fazza accidentally overheard part of a conversation between two ministers near the royal garden. She must never discover what happened that night, one whispered. And if she does, asked the other. The first man looked toward the palace windows. Then history will repeat itself. Cold fear crawled into Fazza's chest. They were talking about her. She knew it. That evening she made a decision she could never undo. For the first time in her life, Fazza stopped being afraid. After midnight, while the palace slept beneath heavy rain, she quietly entered the forbidden west wing, a part of the palace locked for over 15 years. People claimed it was abandoned, haunted, cursed. But Fazza knew better. Secrets lived there. The long hallway smelled of dust and forgotten memories. Old portraits covered the walls, their painted eyes seeming to follow her every step. At the very end of the corridor stood a black wooden door. Locked. Her hands trembled as she searched nearby drawers until finally finding a silver key hidden beneath old papers. The lock clicked open slowly. Inside the room, moonlight revealed something impossible. Hundreds of documents, photographs, letters, newspaper articles. And in the center of the room, a portrait of her mother. Fazza froze. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Behind the portrait, written in gold letters, were words that shattered her reality forever: the true heir was never meant to survive. Her breathing became uneven. Nothing made sense anymore. Heir survive. Suddenly footsteps echoed outside the hallway. Someone was coming. Fast. Fazza grabbed several documents before hiding behind a curtain as the door opened violently. Sheikh Rahim entered the room. His face looked colder than death itself. For several seconds he stared directly at the portrait. Then he whispered something that changed everything: "She looks exactly like her mother." Fazza covered her mouth to stop herself from breathing too loudly. Rahim slowly opened one of the old files. Inside was a birth certificate. Her birth certificate. But the name written under father was not the man she knew. It was the name of the king himself. The room began spinning around her. The palace. The lies. The silence. Her mother's disappearance. Everything connected at once. She was never an ordinary girl hidden inside royal walls. She was royal blood. And someone had spent years trying to erase that truth forever. A sudden sound betrayed her hiding place. Rahim turned instantly. Their eyes met. Silence exploded between them. For a moment nobody moved. Then he smiled. Not kindly. Dangerously. "I wondered how long it would take," he said softly. Fazza stepped backward. "You killed my mother." Rahim's expression darkened. "She died because she trusted the truth." Lightning flashed outside the windows. Rain crashed violently against the palace glass. And at that moment Fazza understood the terrifying reality: inside royal families, truth was more dangerous than war. Rahim slowly walked toward her. "You should have stayed silent," he whispered. But Fazza finally found courage stronger than fear. "No," she replied with tears in her eyes. "You should have." At that exact second, palace alarms suddenly echoed across the entire kingdom. Voices shouted outside. Guards ran through corridors. Somewhere beyond the storm, another secret had just escaped into the world. And for the first time in years, the royal lies were finally beginning to break. The palace alarms screamed through the storm like wounded ghosts. Red lights flashed across the golden corridors while guards rushed in every direction. Rain battered the giant windows of the royal palace, turning the peaceful kingdom into a nightmare of shadows and panic. But inside the forbidden room, time stood still. Fazza stared at Sheikh Rahim with burning eyes, her chest rising heavily with anger and disbelief. The truth she had searched for all her life now stood naked before her. She was royal blood. And her mother had died protecting that secret. Rahim slowly removed his black gloves, revealing calm hands untouched by fear. "You don't understand what your mother tried to destroy," he said quietly. "My mother protected the truth," Fazza replied. "No," Rahim whispered coldly. "She threatened the throne." Lightning cracked across the sky. For a moment the room glowed white, and Fazza saw something terrifying in his eyes: not guilt. Pride. As if destroying innocent lives had become normal inside these royal walls. Suddenly footsteps thundered outside the hallway. Guards. Rahim looked toward the door before turning back to her. "You still have time to disappear," he warned softly. "If they find you here, you will not leave alive." Fazza clenched the stolen documents tightly against her chest. "Why are you helping me?" Rahim gave a dark smile. "Because even monsters get tired of protecting lies." Before she could answer, the door burst open. 3 armed guards entered immediately. "There she is." Fazza ran. The room exploded into chaos as she pushed past shelves and escaped through the side corridor. Her heartbeat pounded violently while footsteps chased behind her through the endless palace halls. The storm outside became louder. Faster. Wild. As if the desert itself had awakened. She rushed downstairs toward the old servant tunnels her mother once showed her as a child. Those hidden underground paths were built decades ago for emergencies, forgotten by most of the palace. But not by Fazza. Not by her mother. Behind her, voices echoed furiously. "Stop her. She has the files. She cannot escape." Fear wrapped around her throat, but she kept running. Because for the first time in her life, the truth mattered more than survival. Finally she reached the hidden tunnel door behind the ancient kitchen walls. Her trembling fingers pushed the heavy metal gate open, revealing darkness beneath the palace. Cold air rushed upward. Without hesitation, she disappeared inside. The tunnel smelled of dust, water, and forgotten years. Tiny lights flickered weakly along the stone walls while thunder vibrated through the underground passage. Fazza ran deeper until the palace noise faded behind her. Only then did she stop breathing like prey. Her hands shook as she opened the stolen documents beneath the dim light. Inside were photographs of secret royal meetings, hidden bank accounts, political agreements, and one shocking newspaper article never released publicly. The headline read, "Royal Heir Dies in Tragic Fire." Below the article was a baby's picture. Her picture. Fazza's eyes widened. The date matched the exact year her mother disappeared. Her death had been announced to the world before she was even old enough to speak. Someone erased her existence deliberately. Someone powerful enough to rewrite history itself. Tears burned her eyes. Everything she believed about herself had been built on lies. But another paper hidden inside the file caught her attention. A handwritten letter. Her mother's handwriting. Fazza unfolded it carefully. If you are reading this, then the palace has finally failed to bury the truth. You were born into a kingdom built on fear. Your father loved you, but power made him weak. There are people inside these walls who would rather destroy blood than lose control of the throne. Never trust the smiles of royal men. Their crowns hide sharper knives than enemies ever could. And if one day they come for you, run toward the desert. Someone there still remembers your real name. Fazza held the letter against her chest while tears fell silently. Her mother knew everything. She had spent years protecting her daughter from the darkness hidden behind royal gold. Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. The guards had found another entrance. Fazza quickly wiped her tears and continued forward until a faint light appeared ahead. An exit. She pushed open the rusted gate and stumbled outside into the stormy desert night. The cold wind hit her face instantly. For the first time in years, she stood beyond the palace walls. Free. But hunted. Far behind her, the glowing palace looked less like a home, and more like a prison built from gold. A black vehicle waited near the dunes. Its headlights flashed twice. Fazza froze. The driver stepped out slowly. Tall. Wearing dark desert clothing. His face hidden beneath shadows. "You're late," the stranger said calmly. Fazza stepped backward carefully. "Who are you?" The man removed his hood. And her entire world stopped again. Because standing before her, was the face from her mother's old photographs. The man she believed died years ago. Her uncle. He looked at her with painful eyes before speaking softly. "Your mother died trying to save this kingdom from itself." He opened the car door slowly. "And now, Fazza, it's your turn."